We've got tips and recipes for healthy living. So for fun and inspiration, come and join us in the raw food world.
As a colon hydrotherapist, and you know that because I know you're such an advocate of keeping the colon clean. It's a very important part of creating vibrant health. And if that's what they want is vibrant health, and not everybody wants to go to the highest level, but once you get there and once you feel it and once you taste it and you're there consciously, it's hard not to want to be there. Because I know for me, when I went to Boston in 1980, I went in with fibroid tumors in my ovaries, and I was going through a divorce and had 3 teenagers at home. So I was very anemic and there was hemorrhaging, but I was also depressed because of what I was going through in my life at that time. So of course, everything healed, everything changed. Joy came into my life, and I never felt happier in my life. But those of us that experience the raw food lifestyle, living foods lifestyle, we know how our body's affected by that, and what happens as we vibrate at a higher frequency. But to be totally honest with you, when I came back home, my fear of not staying live and raw was not that the tumors would grow back. My fear was that the depression would come back.
Wow.
And that kept me more on track. And of course I made some of the most wonderful friends in my life. One of my friends, Kathy, she's going to be here in a couple weeks. She came and spent 2 weeks with me, and we did a 30-day raw juice fast after I got back. Then I called Don Hoyt Creative Health Institute, and it became a support system for me because that's when he was turning it into a living food center. And that was 2 hours from my home. So it just became a place for me to be. And go, because now we didn't have the support we have now. I mean, now we have potlucks here in Michigan because of Creative Health Institute, because we started outreach programs back then. We have potlucks everywhere. I mean, you can go to a potluck almost every night of the week, a Living Foods potluck in one small town or city or another all over the state almost.
Wow.
I mean, even where we are now, I can think of 5 or 6 of them that once a month have potlucks within a 40-minute ride. So it's
amazing.
It's good. It's great.
I have a question.
Sure.
I was wondering about living the Anne Wigmore lifestyle on the road. How did she do it? Like, what did she travel with? When we were visiting Iceland last summer and we met Eidikur, who used to do stuff at the Anne Wigmore Institute as well, he said that she had like this whole system of traveling, and that she perfected it over the years. And I'm really curious what it was, because
She taught that class too, and I think I might have an old video on that.
Oh wow.
I have some really good old videos for her. She had a container with wheels on it, and she taught a class on how to travel with raw foods too. So when we would get to a hotel, just to let you know, she'd have her bags of sunflower and buckwheat grains. And I'll tell you how I've traveled, because I traveled in car, and it was with a hatchback, and it was amazing. But I learned from her. And then of course the bathroom sink she'd have ice brought. She'd just bring ice in, and the bathroom sink would be filled with ice. And she would keep everything there. She'd have her blender, and she'd make the energy soup. She brought it with her in a cooler. Now they have these really cool ones now that I guess you can put ice packs in them, and they last for 24 hours, and they fold up. So I bought one of those, but hers, they were hard then. They didn't have them back in, the softer ones. And that's what she did. She'd bring dehydrated bananas, okay, if she wanted to throw that into her energy soup. Her dried dulse, always, avocados, and pine nuts. She liked pine nuts in the energy soup. I'd like to make you that recipe, that particular, because you can play with it. And one of the things she liked to use is golden delicious apples, because they're sweeter and you don't have to add any other sweetener that way. So I personally don't like bananas in energy soup. I don't care for that mixture. I like it with a golden delicious apple. It's like a delicacy.
Wow.
So yeah, but I know there's one time I traveled from Michigan all the way out to Santa Fe in a little Celica hatchback in the early 80s, and I'd never driven that far alone. I mean, I was like reborn, and I had in the hatchback, I was growing my sprouts in jars, and I was making my Rejuvilac all in the back.
Wow.
And in the front seat I had a gallon jar of Rejuvilac, a gallon jar of alfalfa sprouts, and some other sprouts, greens. And I just ate greens and drank Rejuvilac across the country. I think that's kind of extreme, you know, but that's where I was at. And I got to the mountains and I was running 5 miles a day up in the ski roads up in Santa Fe, and didn't have a problem with it, with the elevation or anything. But that was probably the best I ever felt in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she included Rejuvilac inside the energy soup, didn't she?
She did. Yep.
Nice.
She used Rejuvilac inside the energy soup.
So you said you had these videotapes of Ann Wigmore, right?
I do.
What, are they in DVD or are they on VHS? Or what
Well,
are they
they're on VHS right now, and so what I want to do is get them all on DVD for people, because there's some really good ones. There's one that you can just see her personality. One time, Don Hoy, who started Creative Health Institute, myself, and Dr. Ann, we did a cable TV show together, and I will try to find, if you're going to stay a couple days, I'll try to, I can probably dig it out, because I think we have them over at Nature's Haven, because we just did the festival and we had all the videos out there at the festival, the Michigan Raw Food Festival. So, but the guy that was interviewing Dr. Ann was trying everything he could to be a trickster, and just the way she handled it. I mean, think about interviewing Dr. Ann on a cable television show in the mid-'80s. I mean, come on. They really tried to make her look ridiculous, but it didn't work. She just stuck her. That little personality of hers, you know.
Woo!
So it's a pretty cool video.
Yeah, I got to see that one.
You will. We'll watch it together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I could film it.
What do you mean, film the video?
Yeah.
Why don't I just make you a copy?
Sounds good to me.
Oh, you mean put the flash on your flash and film the video? You could do whatever you want.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's a pretty cool video.
How long is it?
This one is only about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
It was about a half-hour show. So they interviewed Don, they interviewed Ann, and then I was part of the food prep part. They kind of talked to me about the food. I was a skinny little thing. And so I forgot I was that tiny. So what I've done, though, I've been paying a lot of attention to Angela's stuff now. So I'm cutting back on nuts and things. And, of course, I had a couple car accidents, so I couldn't run anymore. So now I'm pumping up my swimming. So I'm pretty excited about where I'm going with that, because there's just no limit when you're a raw fooder. I don't care how old you are. And, you know, I've got 2 great-grandchildren already, and I'm just going to keep on going.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Baby, you got any more questions for Joyce?
Do you have a growing room here? Oh, you said there's nothing
Oh,
growing
right in here.
now. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I've got all my dehydrator in there, and I just finished a family reunion, so I didn't even get everything started again for you guys. So, but usually that is packed. My growing room, my dehydrators are always going. All my dehydrated foods are bagged up. I have a ton of dehydrated foods in there. And I'm getting ready to dehydrate watermelon, which is one of my favorites for the summer. Kids love it. It tastes like cotton candy.
What is it?
Dehydrated watermelon.
Oh, wow.
Well, you guys must have. That's great for the road, too, because you cut it about a ½ an inch thick, and it has to dehydrate for almost 4 days, but it tastes like cotton candy.
Wasn't Wigmore into watermelon juice or something?
Dr. Ann Wigmore, with the rind.
With the rind?
With the rind, absolutely.
Why?
With the rind, absolutely. Because that's where most of the nutrients are, during the rind.
So you juice the whole, she just juiced the whole thing?
She juiced the whole thing. And if it's not, if it's not organic, then you want to cut the outside off.
Right.
But there's so much organic food now that there's not a challenge finding organic food anywhere anymore.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. The town here in Brighton, every grocery store has a huge organic department now, so we don't really have to, produce department, we don't have to go to Ann Arbor if we don't want to. Plus, I grow my own stuff and order it in, and we have co-ops. But yeah, and you can do this without having a growing room. You don't have to have a growing room. I mean, there's so many ways. I love teaching people how to create a living foods lifestyle, because it doesn't have to be difficult. You're not working all the time. It's easier than cooking food, you know. And so, you know, it can be simple. And I think that if someone has a vision of becoming a 100% raw, they need to just take this a step at a time. And just take a little baby steps here and there, and just keep on going. As your body makes the changes, your body will just keep pushing you in that direction if it's truly what you want to do. If not, incorporate as much in as you can so you can feel the difference.
Mm.
And we can save our children that way too, I believe. The more raw they eat.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at the Raw Food World.